little bit more chaotic. It's a lot more about team fights and individual errors with some of the big strategist ults, for example. Team Peps, they have been very good and scrappy in these ones, and if they want to have a win in this series, I do think they have to pick up domination first.
I would agree with you. You got to get that momentum going. We're going to start with the Magnetos. Mirror band away. And Virtus Pro, they immediately lock in on that Emma Frost. A little bit of anti-dive, a little bit of extra protection with that Mind's Aegis, and of course, the ultimate lockdowns with that Psionic Seduction. It's going to be mirrored from the side of Team Peps. So far, everything pretty similar between the two.
Yeah, so now, like I sort of mentioned before when we were looking at the draft picks, the first part is usually the sort of cookie cutter approach. The Torch being banned out for Team Peps is an interesting one, making sure the Fi can't grab it up for Virtus Pro and saving the Punisher. I do feel like whilst you're looking at the first part of the draft as being like, okay, where teams are leaning, it's these second like saves, these lock-ins that have come in for Punisher here and what's about to follow for Virtus Pro that I think is going to define a team of what they're looking to do. Cloak and Dagger banned out. Moxie was going on about this a lot yesterday, really highlighting the strength of the Terror Cape. Not going to see it on the side of Team Peps, at least for the first map.
And they're going to lock in that Luna, who was sneaking through the ban phase. As you already mentioned, we do see Peps prioritizing a couple of these duelist bans as opposed to strategist bans, taking away that Human Torch. So far, all we've seen from Fi this tournament is Torch and Star-Lord, but they're going to go for that Psylocke ban to start us off, removing that flanking potential. Very sensible, so this does leave Star-Lord and Warlock compositions over to Virtus Pro, and that's immediately what we're going to see.
Now, going over into Hell's Heaven, not sure on what point it's going to be just yet, but it seems likely the Virtus Pro are going to commit to what they were running before with this triple support. Saipei, when you have the likes of Loki and Luna Snow and stuff being banned out more, the strategist players are the ones that suffer the most, but Saipei making the Mantis work. This is something that you're going to talk about later, so I don't want to spoil too much, but we put so much pressure and focus on the Terror Cape yesterday, sort of forgetting the damage boost that you can get from Mantis, which is often overlooked because a healing output, especially on her ultimate, doesn't really compare to the likes of Luna Snow and some of the bigger ultimates when it comes to keeping people alive.
We've also been seeing them used together at times, and that is terrifying. Damage boost into plus the Terror Cape makes it very easy to try and pick people off, especially in these triple strategist drafts. Both teams starting off with the Rockets packed lunch, now featuring Penny to give everyone a little bit of armor before the rollouts. That 50 armor from the Penny Parker team up, as opposed to the single 25 you would normally get from the Rockets Battle Rebirth Beacon.
All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
And for the portal play straight away is Finzi. We also do have this team up for Virtus Pro to work around. The Resurrect's been bringing in for Saipei over on the Mantis, and of course 5, he's sticking to the Star-Lord. But the eliminations against Virtus Pro didn't really happen all that much in their series yesterday, so hopefully Spark is looking to have a bit more of an aggressive fight, and they've dove right on top of each other. Hardest just pulling out the shotgun close quarters has enabled that first pick, and Beetle's going to be able to chase up the sort of resurrections that we're seeing from the team up, and obviously from the passive from Adam Warlock is going to keep them in this fight. It looked like they might have had to back out.
They're going to push in a little bit more aggressively. Right now, positioning has been taken by Peps. That is an aggressive culling turret up onto this high ground to take some positioning, utilizing that Seraphim barrier, the shield from Doctor Strange to lock in that defense position. As Hardest will rotate up to the high ground, and Peps claim the first position, but Virtus Pro are starting to crawl in and look for those quick pickups. We're playing on the previous patch. This is pre the buffs to the Star-Lord Blaster Barrage, as that's an aggressive movement by Fridro with the Eternal Bond for the early setup, dropping Larry low, but they're revived at the BRB. But that means that Larry, Leaf, and Hardest, and Aura, it's a team wipe, all get taken out with no revive available.
Yeah, just chasing now, making sure that the BR back can't get too much. Team Peps, good progression on the point initially. First Pro, I think they only lost one player, maybe two in that first fight. Sparker brought himself back. It really is just about picking these engagements for Virtus Pro. Where are they going to try and take this next engagement? Team Peps, they do like to try to death ball almost, grouping up and just hoping that as a unit they can take somebody down. But Virtus Pro, aware of this. Fi not really able to go for these like flanks, just jumping in on top as the Omega Hurricane from Leaf, trying to clear out some of these corridors.
Going in with that Omega Hurricane directly point blank onto Saipe, but Saipe is in full retreat with that Soul Rejuvenation to get out of danger. Leaf is acting as a sort of pseudo-mantis for this Punisher, but they did go off on a little bit of a split and now flank in from behind with the lightning strikes to keep the pressure on. They need to try and get onto that Star-Lord, but with the iframes, with the mobility, they're so hard to lock down, but they will finally get the pickup. I have a Gamodo from above for the attempt at the turnaround, and that will wipe with the Maelstrom of Madness.
Oh, that turret is doing so much damage to Finzi. He can't hold on for much longer as the RP has come in. Beetle just able to whack away this, but that's a really nice ultimate. Karmic Revival not needed once at all from Sparker in their last series. Now bringing back enough to keep Virtus Pro fighting on this, but Team Peps have turned the point into their favor. The fight for Virtus Pro, starting with the Psionic Seduction, trying to catch people in that main choke, but there's a bit of a disengage. The Invisible Boundary allowing Larry to just sit there a little bit longer, check up past this 50% point, and get Hardest available with this final judgment.
Hardest is pushing in deep, looking for anyone, any stragglers in that hallway, picks off Finzi, and is going in even harder with that adjudication on the shotgun to try and melt through the poker dagger, but Terra came for the range reduction, so they cannot see, and Fi is just so uncontested in the backline, wipes that beyond that Cosmic Yard Amplifier, and Cypher just in time with their own ultimate to survive the engage of Beetle.
Oh, the fight back is actually really nice. Team Peps eventually have to give this one up, just trying to eke away as much percentage as they possibly can, and it has forced out, I think, another portal from Finzi, actually, so it's not going to be available for these last kinds of fights. And ultimates-wise, you're close to a Karmic Revival again, which is never going to be bad, always nice to have for a rainy day. But it's that Omega Hurricane and something Psionic Seduction combo that might catch them out.
Beautiful lockdown onto the Adam, picking them off. Psionic Seduction, they're going to try and capitalize, trying to pull in Starter, but they escape behind the pillar. Diving in deep, and everyone took beautiful cover there, but that's a lot of defensive positions and movements, allowing for that Omega Hurricane to pull in once again, looking for the second pick up onto Adam. No resurrections as they push on in, but Hardest sniped by Fi, who is once again always on the flank. A beautiful Eye of Agamotto coming in from Vinci, almost knocked off the edge with the crystal kick, but is holding, buying time to try and keep that tick going. If their team could reinforce, then they could have maybe taken that overtime, but instead Team Peps get the flip and Virtus Pro. They are very staggered on 92% for Peps.
They don't have a portal either, so they have to just do it the old-fashioned way with your boots and run all the way in. Fire has to try and go in for this fight, and on 80% of the Galactic Legend, he probably preferred to not have been. That Karmic Revival for Sparker is available. It's whether you can get the time and use it now. You've got the team up, actually, that Fi had. He was just sort of trying to buy as much time as possible so he could group up with the rest of his team. Nevix goes down, Nevix is back, Psionic Seduction, all of these ultimates from Virtus Pro, 6 in total, all lapped up on top of each other. It's the first point, and we're already seeing a brawl for the ages. Galactic Legend alongside the Eye of Agamotto that actually came in for Beetle. It stuns out free, but Virtus Pro, just after Strategist enables the support, healing and utility to keep everybody going for now.
By using their own body to buy the time they needed for the reinforcements, trying to get behind that Guardian Barrier, but needs a little bit of burst. Omega Hurricane once again trying to track down Zapi. They get 2, they get 3, and Team Peps, they are actually able to extend that fight long enough. Even though they got wiped so quickly, they take control and take the Super Soldier Factory in round number 1.
That's something that Team Peps have been consistently good at, even going back to the Invitational, which I know has different names and faces on it, but they just love a fight. They have enough sustain to keep themselves going. And one thing that we haven't had the chance to mention, Aura Steel has been on that Rocket Raccoon the whole time. There's no longer that team up in game alongside Punisher with the ammo overload, so it is just a bit of comfort, a bit of preference, healing output for the most part. And this triple support, it's doing a lot of the sustain work, the strategist lineup for Virtus Pro, but ultimately it puts so much pressure onto Fi to find the final picks. Actually, it's Nevix leading the line for Virtus Pro on those two.
Nevix has been locking people down, so effectively DRP as well. The Emma Frost, one of the highest damage vanguards, doing such a good job for quick blow-ups. use how this works. But the rocket, like you mentioned, it's unusual. But Virtus.pro are so good at finding quick pickups, so they get the BRB. The damage boost from that Cosmic Yard Amplifier, plus the damage boost from Storm means they can hopefully, in a team fight, maximize the amount of time that Hardest is damage boost. But with that aggressive portal coming out, dive in, blast of a rock, DRP finds the double though with that Carbon Crush, lock it down into Crystal Kick, and it's a huge pickup for Team Peps, but they did lose Aura Stealer, and that's the one who can bring people back, whereas Virtus.pro, they can just keep cocooning, keep fighting, but Leaf is making it so that they go down a second time, and Team Peps claim point number 1 again.
Fire cancelling the Soul Revival too, just deciding to go for the clean reset. You gotta say, DRP is playing out of his mind right now. He was somebody that was prioritizing playing the Magneto if it was available to him, and his win rate on Magneto was really high in this tournament, but when he's put onto Emma Frost, it hasn't worked out that well. Certainly the first time when they played up against, I think, Z10 in the early parts of the groups. Now he's having an absolute brilliant game thus far, and the Soul Resurgence going to be the way for Virtus.pro to go in on that fight. The Carbon Crush, the CC not leading into a follow-through as of yet. But Virtus.pro now with these ults, it's a 5-player Eye of Agamotto, but where's the follow-up? You have the Psionic Seduction that's going to stop Ultimate's use, but Hardest getting out that final judgment just before it allows the supports, the strategists to keep on working. The invisible boundary for Larry, but people are going down and Virtus.pro looking to take the point.
Finzi with this Strange and Nevix with this Emma Frost. They were able to drop it this time. They found the perfect shielding positioning to absorb that. The Eye of Agamotto came in, immediate turnaround. Damage boost. They had the Cosmic Yard Amplifier. They had that Storm bonus. They had Final Judgment. But Virtus.pro positioning was their key for that fight. They stood behind their vanguards exactly when it was needed. Only burning the Eternal Bomb for that fight. And now they still have that Galactic Legend. They still have Karmic Revival, and they're about 50% of the way towards that Soul Rejuvenation as DRP trying to wrap around, trying to look for someone to pick up once to get onto that Star-Lord, who is uncontested up here. Never mind.
Yeah, eliminated. The Beer is going to bring back DRP, the Karmic Revival is going to bring back everybody else, but the Omega Hurricane just stacked on top of it. The return trip is a very quick return back to spawn all the way. And a wipe onto Virtus.pro. Team Peps, however, still need to make a good amount of progression as Virtus.pro over on this point a lead in the line thus far. And big expenditure when it comes to the ultimates.
66% currently for Virtus.pro. Team Peps just approaching 40 right now. Aura Stealer almost with that Cosmic Yard Amplifier for that extra damage boost and of course that bonus health. Leaf has been in the perfect position almost every time with these Omega Hurricanes. Culling Turret set up by time. Allow that catch up 53 to 66 right now as Fi pushing in quite deep. They're going to try and just roll them here with a fast push with a massive blast of Mirage and that extra bonus health. The Fi is starting to get a little bit isolated. Would love to try and dual leap as in comes that Final Judgment to push on in, but everyone is so split. The Eternal Bond is keeping everyone topped up.
So the Seduction trying to fall through, but Nevix actually going down in the end. The Hardest, he has been a hero for this team previously. It's another massive Eye of Agamotto that's coming from Finzi, and everybody's low enough on Team Peps that this is looking to be cleared up. So a fight changing up the point. 86% grabbed for Team Peps as the Eldritch Monument is going to shift to the somewhat more neutral yet high ground. And a portal play for Finzi, not willing to give up any space, getting information, looking to try and go for the counter-attack against Beetle.
Wanted to interrupt that portal. The Guardian Barrier's giving him thumbs up. They get him! Preventing the portal came out just in time, though. Meaning that we do still allow Team Peps to make their way onto the point of invisible boundary for that extra sustain to push on in. Second that expires, though. Galactic Legend will be coming out, but that's in Fi is able to stay up as it comes a Mega Hurricane. Immediate target focus, trying to take out the Storm, and they get it! That is huge! Sparker was taken out, but no Karmic Revival was available at the time anyway. It's Leaf and Sparker, the only people going down. Hardest also gonna be dropped in. Leaf swaps the Spider-Man to re-roll back in to arrive back to the point. It's overtime for Virtus.pro, but Team Peps has shown they can fight on this point for a long time. Rocket coming up to their own Cosmic Yard Amplifier to try and help deal as Leaf rolls in from behind. Beautiful punch and taking out Ridro.
The trades there from Finzi, though, 99% overtime looming down, and we go to the third point. It's always Virtus Pro in these cinematic games. And it's the first map of the day, Tetra. We've still got plenty of this to go for. And Team Peps trying to do a little bit more damage. They were the first team ever to take a map off of Virtus Pro. They want to be the second team to maybe take a series off of them. But to be the team to first eliminate Virtus Pro from a tournament, granted it's the seeding stage, they'll be in playoffs next week. I think they'll take that, and that's what they're gunning for.
It would be a huge message to send to all the other teams in the playoffs. Currently, Leaf has 18 final hits with 18k damage applying. They have split these eliminations perfectly. They are on fire right now. Hardest has been setting up. You'll see that their KO count is actually a little bit lower, but that's because they are the one who's unleashing, trying to break these shields from the Emma Frost, from the Doctor Strange, and allow Storm, once those defensive tools are gone, to just capitalize with Omega Hurricane. We even see a little bit of an opening from Aura Stealer with that extra bubble from the Jeff to give them the speed boost out, because this time they're not portaling. The cooldown burned earlier.
Wondering what ultimates are expecting to be online. 2 strategist ultimates for Virtus Pro available. Karmic Revival, so if this fight goes sour for Virtus Pro, they still have a chance to bring people back. And the Eye of Agamotto for Finzi, I mean, it's consistently connected onto 3 or 4, but down on the low ground, it is just contesting the point first. They feel that whoever's able to grab it is going to have the bigger advantage. And the final judgment coming through, not quite the same connection of the Eye of Agamotto as Finzi just flies on by. Team Peps trying to do the same. Saipei's the only one that's caught, but the follow through off the final judgment is the key element. Psionic Seduction going to push things back as Saipei back in the battle of that team up with Adam Warlock. And Fi, it's really an even fight. Omega Hurricane alongside this invisible boundary up on the objective, trying to pull things back in favor of Peps. But Virtus Pro is still surviving. That's the aid of the composition, and the Karmic Revival is just going to keep these bodies coming back.
Another 2 pickups, but guess what? They're already returning. Great job by Drizzler, by the way, with that Dark Force teleport to get out of danger as they're trying to capitalize. In comes Finzi to try and wrap around to look for an angle 5 with the Blast of Mirage, as Leaf is getting zoned down aggressively here. And this time, the point hasn't even been captured yet, but Virtus Pro have been in control of this fight essentially from start to finish.
Now, yeah, Finzi looking to try and get another Eye of Agamotto, catching on to 3. It's more the fact that there's follow-up after these ultimates. We've seen so many good connections, but the strategist being able to keep people going, to keep them alive. Virtus Pro finally taking the point, like you mentioned, Tetra. It was a grueling fight in order to progress it first. But it's the fact that they're building up another Karmic Revival, 65% already for Spark, who is putting out a keen amount of damage for a strategist, but then the Galactic Legend and that Eternal Bond should just match.
Peps moving on to the solo Vanguard composition. Beetle, all the pressure is now on their shoulders as DRP has decided it's time for more damage. Mantis with that Inspire to try and melt through Virtus Pro to set themselves up. Omega Hurricane with damage boost. The Galactic Legend is targeting it. The healing is good. Eternal Bond is keeping everyone from Virtus Pro up. Finzi, the only one to fall as Leaf gets caught in the seduction and is cleaned out. It's 2 for 1 in favor of Virtus Pro as they're holding the line up to 60%. And Peps, they're once again delaying, but they can't really just afford to just thread in one at a time. They're going to get wiped, but on 69% now, Virtus Pro are controlling the location.
It also means that if we do see a switch over to the Doctor Strange for Portal play, Finzi is almost ahead of it, or seems to be every single time. Peps opting for it, not at this point, as 80% has been hit for Virtus Pro. Karmic Revival is the only ultimate they have right now. It's even really close to being available too. Meanwhile, Team Peps using a lot in that final fight, not quite having the same amount. Fi taken out, but he's going to be brought back with that team up with Adam Warlock, and he's able to actually get the trade over onto Leaf.
Another 2-man, 3-man, 4-man, 5-man Karmic Revival. Sparker is being the lifeblood of this team right now as Virtus Pro are holding it overtime. It's time for Peps to hit the buttons, but Hardest taken out through the final judgment. The damage output is relying on Leaf, who's on 95%, 97, but the strategists are getting dropped. There's no big ultimate to keep them up. Finzi and Nevix have fallen, and Leaf might just try and hold on to this, as it looks like they're going to get the flip.
I mean, Virtus Pro are going to be happy with this for the most part. They've got 2 ultimates available, and they're very close to having another 2. Portal Play looking to be the go-to. Galactic Legend potentially looking to be set up on Fimsy, just trying to find a more cute position to start this engagement from. Unfortunately, they've lost side play beforehand, but they're going to be able to bring themselves back with the team up of Adam Warlock, I believe. So now it's just a case of trying to find a good fight here, as the invisible boundary is going to try and dictate exactly where this fight is starting from.
Here comes that Mega Hurricane. We called it earlier, but Galactic Legend is already set up. They're going to try and wait it out to delay as much as possible. That's going to be a 1-for-1. Sparker is taken down, but has that Cocoon to bring themselves back. There's the beautiful targeting by Phi. And game number 1, Virtus Pro, after a little bit of a shaky start, are locked in.
I sweat off the brow. I think Domination is the game mode where teams could do the most damage to Virtus Pro, at least historically. And it makes sense when you've got teams that are sort of so coordinated, the French-speaking team Peps, really synergizing and being on wave with each other consistently. It's more the fact that Virtus Pro, okay, the comps that we saw yesterday weren't really tested all that much. Here they were brought out in full swing, and we're starting to see exactly why they like that Adam Warlock. Multiple people being brought back with karmic revivals, consistently able to do a good amount of DPS as well. It really is just a Virtus Pro have found their footing here, and Team Peps looking good on the first part of the map, can't really move things across to do the same kind of damage on 2 and 3.
I want to see how many revives. I need to know. Someone in chat, please let me know, because Sparker was insane. They got 11 final hits just by themselves, just doing such a good job. Leaf was a dominant force for Team Peps, though. Very nearly able to clean up and solo push on through, and that is where we do start to see the weakness of someone like the Mantis and like that Cloak and Dagger, where if you're able to time them well, they have long ultimate charges, and they are a little bit squishier, can be crowd controlled. You are going to be in a situation where the Storm, if you can capitalize correctly, can really blow up everyone in the backline, and we saw that repeatedly with Leaf getting over 20 final hits that game.
Things at least looking good for Virtus Pro on this first map, which like we sort of mentioned, for everything in Ignite, every first map is going to be Domination. It's randomly decided by what I imagine is Ultron just behind the scenes being like, yeah, hell's heaven, let's go. But now Team Peps actually do get the choice of map, and well, they're very good at Convoy, because they do like to play aggressive defensive lines by holding towards the spawn doors. It's something that Virtus Pro are very keenly aware of at this rate. So Team Peps do have a bit of a fight back. And at the very least, Tetra, we are seeing that disparity of Virtus Pro against the other teams at EMEA shrink to a minimal, a couple of team fights, as opposed to Virtus Pro being just so ahead of the teams in Europe. There's no point in scrimming them. We might as well scrim the Americans instead. Now that's certainly not the case.
A 2-1
coming out on top. You don't want to be the 4th seed coming in from Group A, because that's going to be your first opponent. The Symbiotic Service, really when it comes to the picks and bans, standard stuff. I think DRP showed a lot of promise over on the Emma Frost to begin with. It's somebody, as we saw like a bit of a console UI in the background, that has been exceptional over on Magneto. That it's been even a surprise that people at Alcatel let him play Magneto in the first place and didn't just ban it out straight away like Virtus Pro have here.
But this is something we are seeing with the EMEA teams really locking in on these Magneto bans, compared to the other side where we've been on the Americans, where we've been seeing a little bit of Magneto let through in comparison to banning out the Emma. So it's interesting to see how that has swapped around. This time though, both teams will protect the Emma, and we'll of course see that low-key ban out by Virtus Pro. So far, so standard.
I think for looking at Peps, really is now sticking to their guns of trying to take fire away from a Human Torch. It's a very good map for Human Torch. We even saw a little bit of that coming out from Leaf, who's going to be comfortable. And actually, instead of the save onto the Punisher, they're going to really protect the fact that they need Cloak and Dagger. They felt that the lack of the damage shred, I suppose, with the extra 40% on people hit by the Terror Cape, which is available every 12 seconds, and the duration of that debuff is 3 seconds, so 25% of the time they're taking 30% more damage. Seems pretty good numbers for me, I'd say, for the most part, as well as the Eternal Bond being one of the better sustain strategist ultimate is to keep people going. And with no Magneto on either side, you don't have to worry about that Meteor M squishing you like a bug.
Yeah, you're really out of tools for dealing with that cloak and dagger. We will see an extremely late Lunar Band coming out in terms of stuff that can really try and snipe you at the ultimate. The Iron Man is still available, but to do that, you have to play Iron Man into the Punisher meta, with Hela not being banned out at all because she's so far down the list, with the Soldier still being available. It's a potentially risky time. I do love seeing from Virtus Pro, though, the ban onto the Invisible Woman. You know Leaf can play the Torch. You know Leaf can play the Storm. Both flying characters who will really benefit from that Guardian barrier, which can help keep them sustained while in the air. So taking that away is at least targeting onto Leaf.
Means that Beetle has less freedom, I suppose, or Nevix is going to be licking his lips a little bit more, that he doesn't have to worry about Force Physics knocking him away with the Eye of Agamotto. Not that it made any difference last time, let's be honest. He was still connecting onto multiple people consistently. And with Magneto, it used to be a sort of bit of 50-50 between Magneto and Emma Frost, of like, which one are you going to ban out, which one are you going to try and get? Because getting them both is pretty much unheard of so far at this level of tournament. Portal play in action again. We saw a couple of people fall for this yesterday, and I do believe that DRP was potentially one of them, so hoping that he doesn't, you know, take a trip off the side of the map again.
You have to stop them from
Waiting to
securing
see if
the
it's a
mission
portal
area.
trap. Fi on Spider-Man here. There is that portal. Will they get the counter? Did they place it ever so offset? This is what a lot of teams do, is they'll place the portal just off to the side. They did not. Is there the counter? No counter on the portal at all, so immediately we see Virtus Pro take the advantage, getting Larry, but a counter from DRP, who seems later guided onto Saipei.
I think he got the Carbon Crusher over onto Saipei as well, who's going to be back. This is something that, you know, attrition is the name of the game. Maybe Virtus Pro get wiped at the heat death of the universe, but that's going to take quite some time, and there's only like 4 minutes to be able to protect the point too. The DRP trying to go in, Carbon Crush seeing if he can grab onto those, but he's taking a huge amount of damage, and Finzi putting the final blow on top of it. Vi trying to chase down exactly where Leaf is going to be playing on this Human Torch, and this sort of Guardians comp went a bit out of fashion, has even taken a couple of evolvements and additions. Virtus Pro just going to run it everywhere, and you can see why.
The Star-Lord is still good, and they're receiving a buff coming up soon, live for
yeah.
the real game. But for these players, it's going to be good news going into these playoffs. With a lot of the flyers like the Torch let through here, you look at what can deal with flyers. You, of course, have the Punisher, who can try and ping from a distance. You have Hela, who is a hit scan. You have the Torch, with the Soldier, who can snipe people out the air. But then you look at Star-Lord. They have pretty solid range, but their melee, they have invulnerability frames, which they can easily blow people up with, trying to eliminate the BRB. Not enough, so they have to run away from the Punisher here.
Well, we've seen this from Treedro before, just a super aggressive Eternal Bonds, and there's the Eye of Agamotto that's coming from Beetle that's got onto 3. No Force Physics available for Virtus Pro as it was banned out, really starting to show. And now Finzi is actually managing to turn things around, isn't on the character himself of Doctor Strange. In fact, switching things around to allow Nevix a bit of a more accurate showing of Venom on Clintar.
Very cool. The Venom comes on in. Nevix used to be an insane player on people like Groot, on people like Hulk, and therefore seeing them on this Venom is very fun. Frenzied arrival immediately into the pull, into the feast from the abyss. They are committing, but Fi gets blown up here. Hardest, who swapped onto that Star-Lord themselves, gets continuously taken out, and with no Adam Warlock on the side of Team Peps, they are not coming back. Have to go right back to spawn.
Galactic Legend trying to cut across just as he was brought back with the Soul team up. He's able to get free. He's carving through Team Peps like they're a lid of just a fresh croissant, honestly. Virtus Pro really hot stepping their way to taking the second objective very quickly.
They are rushing this, and Team Peps, they still have that Strange, but they don't have the portal, because they used it for the counter to try and create a single extra hold. Finally, we will see Leaf swapping over off that Torch onto the Adam Warlock of their own. They're just going straight for a copy. Give us your comp, Virtus Pro. We're going to try and beat you with it.
We're trying to come through. Silent Seduction in this tunnel is going to pull a lot of people from Virtus Pro into a precarious spot. Do you see the Soul Resurgence used from Aura Stealer to just keep people going for the time being? The Galactic Legend is going to switch around. Hardest going on to the character himself, but it's Sparker, actually, the strategist. That's the one that's just finding these final blows to get Virtus Pro still trucking along.
Virtus Pro aren't slowing down. This is the Virtus Pro we expected to see coming into Ignite. They are rushing in right now, keeping the pressure on. DRP on this Venom is trying to create distractions, as again, they're just copying Virtus Pro to try and match their compositional style. They keep pressure on. Here comes that Galactic Legend from Vi, just dodging the sleep attempt, coming in from Aura Sealer from downtown in the air. I appreciate the ambition, but the extra healing is going to make sure that they don't get any pickups. They have to dive in once Larry's extra Eternal Bond has expired.
There's a lot of damage that he did, actually. It forced out the early ultimate of the Eternal Bond. Now Leaf with the Karmic Revival goes down before he can even use it. So this fight is more the tempo that's been set up from Virtus Pro as the Karmic Revival's gone through. Sure, Fi gets taken out, but he's going to be brought back with the Adam Warlock ultimate. And really, it's just who's got these cooldowns available, whose soul is going to return to the battle fastest, and often more than not, it's Virtus Pro that lead in the line on that.
By keeping the pressure onto the backline, going in with the Venom Blaster Barrage in the doorway. Nevix and Sparker get the pickup, but Vi, the damage output is working beautifully, and there's that finish line. Clean is the best way we can describe that. Wonderful play by Virtus Pro.
What's ridiculous is that we've seen faster times done on other Convergence maps like Halls of Dajalia earlier, but that's still exceptional. Finishing the map full stop for Virtus Pro is hard enough. Team Peps have to manage it and match it. Whenever they get even close to the time that's set, it's going to require a lot of these like resets. And I really like Nevix pulling out the Venom, especially when you have the Vanguard still feeling relatively strong. Yeah, the Thing is certainly a lot worse meta-wise than it was previous, and for people are still adjusting to the new changes that have come in. But for the likes of like Captain America, Venom, even Penny Parker, for all things, they still find value when they're used in the right places. And Virtus Pro, one thing that we can say from their scrim books, if they are losing a lot of scrims, you can put it down to the fact that Virtus Pro are also trying out a lot of different stuff. And the Venom alongside this comp seems to be something that clearly they've noted down and want to use a little bit more.
We've been seeing a lot of people play the Captain America for EMEA in particular, whereas other regions will kind of lock in on the Venom, and it seems that Virtus Pro have decided that the other regions might have a point and have been moving over to the Venom a bit more themselves, and a lot of that is going to be due to this frenzied arrival. Pulling people inwards when you dive means they're all grouped up for Blaster Barrage. Combining that with the Star Lord, you have a pretty reasonable time for setting up some quick bursts.
Got it?
Just very good to isolate some of these targets, because if you're playing this sort of, I was going to say triple support, but that is actually strategist has been moved over to be something a little bit more standard. Means that everybody has to stay relatively grouped up, or you're going to have a Venom diving on top of you and isolating you from the rest of your team. Auto play from Peps, looking to try to take the objective quick enough. And Leaf over on the Storm has had some inspired performances over on that first map of Hell's Heaven, and Hardest actually finding the first elimination so far on his side.
What a roll out there from Hardest on the second engagement, gets punished, running into two people. Fi picks up the elimination, and Sipper will be brought back with their own rejuvenating cocoon. And right now, Team Peps, it was an aggressive rollout with Virtus Pro. They were able to back out quickly. Leaf snipes Fi, though, and that could be the opportunity for Peps to move in if they can get the second pickup onto Saipet or Fi. Fincy will also do. There's no revives there either.
Oh wow, look at everybody just coming back. It's clean from Fi. That just, the combo is just cutting through people. And this was a side that Team Peps took off the Human Torch just to stop Fi being able to play on it. And he's just like, doesn't matter. I've got so many other characters that I can pick up and play. Another side of it as well, I guess, with the Venom is like, Venom seems to be a really good character to synergize with Soul Bond, because you do have that extra, like, he is just impossible to eliminate, right? Like, he's sharing out that damage that he's taking. He can obviously give himself that resilience as well if he's down low on HP. it's going to be hard to take him down, and the Feast of the Abyss is available. Soul Resurgence is going to boost up the damage available if he wants to try and go for that fight, but Hardest is the one with the final judgment that's going to force things back. It's going to force out that second strategist ultimate from Dredro with that Eternal Bond, and in comes the Feast of the Abyss. It's going to try and look and hunt for a target, but Team Peps all surviving, but no progression made on the point.
Larry's able to take out Cyber Banana very much in the backline. Here comes Spy on the flank, trying to capitalize onto that Psionic Seduction. It's going to be a triple. It might be a quad as they push on into the back of Doctor Strange with 1 minute and 47 seconds left. Sparker gets some eliminations and gets the revive onto Nevix. This is Virtus Pro. They have yet to give up even a third of this point right now, and Team Peps are running out of time.
It's a statement, and it has been so far this week for Virtus Pro. And the ultimate's looming, at least when you look at the Silent Seduction for Finzi, but outside of that, not too much. High Vagamoto for Beetle, less to try and block you and get in the way. And Nevix trying to jump into the backline as the Omega Hurricanes come through. Hardest again, finding first pick. It's likely to be just brought back instantly, and the trade is there. To be her back, actually, that's going to be the thing that sort of brings back Hardest too. So this fight ongoing, time being bought, a minute left on the clock, Tetcher, and Peps pretty much need to clear the whole objective.
Psycho will be going in with that Soul Rejuvenation to try and capitalize. Aura Stealers, no damage bonus, but they're a player down. Beetle gets taken out, and that Cosmic Artifact gets wiped off the board. Here comes the damage output from Hardest to try and make something happen. They got Fi, but Fi's back. They try to get onto that Emma Frost, but they can't do enough damage to finish them off thanks to the extra healing from Dredro. This is just Virtus Pro vintage here as they hold the control with 30 seconds left. Team Peps, they're going to try and go with the Eye of Agamotto, even though they're down members, to try and create a stagger, and that will be a full... No, it's still a cocoon onto Cypher. Sparker's even got the cocoon and Karmic Revival. Everything Team Peps is doing right now can be undone.
At a revival, Sparker's been brought back by his own classic part of it, but Beetle's just going to make sure, like, sit down, son, we need to get this objective rolling along. Fine now with the Galactic Legend, taking a huge chunk out of the shield and of the body of Beetle, and even the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier can't really do all that much. Virtus Pro looking to hold on out as overtime is just dipping out. Virtus Pro showing the Team Peps you might have taken a map before, you are getting absolutely zilch today. Take this sort of losers bracket game a clean 2-0.
Team Peps, we will not be saying goodbye to them. Remember, these teams are already qualified for playoffs, but Virtus Pro sending the message that just because they are down, they are not out, showing that there was no shakes, there was no kind of like getting rattled after that first time they lost a series. It just happens sometimes, and they are showing that they are back on form after a little bit of a incredible start from Team Peps. Virtus Pro locked in and were able to, quite frankly, dominate that second map.
Yeah, I think one of the things about it too is, like, with Hardest, we saw right at the start, we had some lovely highlights shown by production from yesterday's games from Hardest against Alcatia. Every final judgment seemed to result in a 3K or a 4K. How many final judgments did we see here that Virtus Pro survived through? And if it did get a pick, how many of those picks just returned near enough instantly off of the back of the team up or the Karmic Revival? Hardest couldn't get anything going this game.
Legitimately, they just could not find any momentum. They'd get a pickup, then they'd just get brought back. They'd get Cypher, their Cocoon. They'd get Sparker, they'd get Cocoon. And on the very odd occasion, they actually finish off Nevix through that Symbiotic Resilience, through that Soul Bond from Adam Warlock. Well, guess what? Karmic Revival's off cooldown. Time for them to return. In the meantime, Fi is running through your backline, picking up everyone they need, and just playing incredibly. Fi again has only really played 2 heroes this entire season of Ignite so far, but so far, that's all they need.
It works so far. Yeah, Team Peps not playing for the rest of this week. We'll see them back again for playoffs, so you're not going to miss out too much if you're a fan of the French squad. And at least they can sort of like, okay, we actually have a really good like VOD to look at exactly what Virtus Pro did here. How do we sort of copy it?
But a lot of people are still focusing on banning out the torch. Is that okay with you? I know you guys have more in the tank, like behind the scenes, but this focus in terms of bans, how's that working for you?
Yeah, the torch ban is interesting because they're really targeting Fi, but he's like very flexible DPS, so it doesn't really bother us too much. But Fi's torch is very good, so like it shows a lot of respect to us, I guess, when they ban him. Even in this like triple support ban meta, they still went with our DPSs because that's what scares them the most, I guess. But today I feel like our team play like shined through compared to theirs.
Yeah, I mean, it took a lot of team play on that first domination map. It was like the first couple of points at the very least, like Peps were really giving it to you in a couple of those fights. I know from speaking, I think, to Fi about like the Rad loss, he said that you made a lot of individual mistakes as a team on that first domination map. Like, did that feel, it's chaotic, obviously, but did that feel a lot better today? Like, just being able to tighten up some of the gameplay and like, what elements, I suppose, do you look at? Again, you don't need to reveal too much, but I'm just curious, like, when you're a team that's at the top for so long, you have to almost be a little bit nitpicky to find some of the issues that you have, right?
So I think in the match we lost, we have a little bit, we were not really sure about the meta, like where it was going, where it fitted us. So we were on like Punisher, Groot, a very static comp that doesn't have too much solo playmaking. It's a lot about using our ults correctly and not that much clutch play. So, and I felt like we got a little bit nervous and got carried away that we had to rush things, and that kind of led to the loss. But today I feel like people were more relaxed, more confident that they can carry themselves, so to speak. So I feel like this vibe suited us way better.
And like you said, you haven't had to rush things now as you are moving on in the bracket. You obviously are already qualified for the playoffs, and now it's just about where you place. Who would you like to play against? Who would you like? Would you like revenge against Rad? Where would you like to end up in the playoff bracket?
I mean, I want to go all the way. I want to beat Red again to prove that it was just a fluke that one time, and that happens. Like we won so many games that at some point we're gonna make some mistakes, not read the meta well, and drop one. But I think we'll come back stronger now, and we want revenge.
I mean, yeah, it's been like, I guess with all of the experience that you've had as well, it does feel a little bit like after you lost that series, there was like, it's the end for Virtus Pro, right? Like the golden age is over, right? Like, honestly, has that been a little bit frustrating where it's a little bit like you literally just lost your first series in almost a year of playing Marvel Rivals, right? And everybody's just going haywire. Like, is it something that's just in the back of your mind, or you're just like, we just go next, literally, we can only keep going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it really sucks because before everyone's like, wait, they're unstoppable. But now there's that splinter, you know, or like people is like, oh, we can crack them. They're not that good actually. So we lost that mentality, or like what people thought about us. But now like we need to build that back. Like we need to repair whatever happened to us.
Yeah,
you go away and get prepared. Thank you very much for joining us, Nevix. Congratulations on your win, and we will certainly, as you move on in the bracket, see you later.
All right, thank you guys.